Welcome back. It's Smoking and Toasting, show number 140. We are brought to you by B&B Butchers and Restaurant at 1814 Washington Ave in Houston and in the shops at Clear Fork in Fort Worth. I just wanted to mention, by the way, B&B has one of, and I realize I'm kind of talking up our buddy Jeremiah here, but they have one of the most well-curated bars of any major restaurant I think I've ever been in. Generally, when you go to like a good steakhouse somewhere, they've got a decently curated bar. B&B blows those guys away.
So there's a couple different styles. Like if you go to somewhere like Reserve 101, which is an absolutely fantastic
But that's
place.
not a steakhouse. That's
not at all.
That's a
but
whiskey
we're just
bar.
talking about the bar.
Right,
okay?
right.
So that's the place you go if you want to try any whiskey you've ever read about. I mean, they have it, and their wall is ridiculous. It's like walking into Toys R Us for adults. It's Whiskeys R Us. And their wall is filled with hundreds, and I'm not exaggerating, hundreds of whiskeys. When you go to somewhere like B&B, they don't have the room for that, and that's not what they're about. But what they do have is exactly what they need, and I promise, whatever...
It's a fairly large bar, though, I will say.
Yeah, no, it's not small, but it's not hundreds of bottles.
It's not the only thing they are. Right,
and, but what they do there is instead of giving you a selection of every single whiskey you could possibly, this is much like the internet jukebox, right?
Right.
Where you can have any song you want, or sometimes it's more fun to walk into a place that has their own jukebox. It gives it a little more personality,
and it's just been curated,
and
right?
you create a playlist out of that. Well, that's a little bit more like what's going on here.
I like the analogy.
Where you sit down and you go, okay, so this is what they have, and this is their special drinks that they make, and you can make sure that they're damn sure they're going to make those drinks well.
What I like about ordering something that I've never had before at a place like B&B is that it wouldn't be on that menu without a reason.
That's right.
That's
right.
It's there. It was chosen to be, let's say you order something that's $12. It was chosen to be the $12 thing.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And I like that. It just makes it feel like, I don't know, maybe it's a little more purposeful. But anyway, I digress. We were going to bump very quickly to the interview from the boat with Mr. Luna, and we'll do that right now. Brandon Luna with McAuliffe Cigars sat down with us on the boat in Galveston, and here's what happened. All right, we're back. We're still on board the paddle wheel boat. And
Colonel's Paddle Wheel in Galveston Bay.
Yes, in Galveston Bay. Got a nice little breeze blowing. It's a little dark, but we're talking cigars and smoking cigars, and that's an absolutely awesome thing to do on a really nice sort of breezy summer night like tonight. So
it is beautiful out here tonight.
Absolutely. I don't know if you noticed, but I am completely unencumbered by wires.
You know, I got up to use the restroom, and I come back, and people keep jacking my wireless. This is unacceptable.
This is what it feels like, Ian, to sit and look at someone using the wireless every week.
Oh, it makes me hate myself.
Someone who never says things like, would you like to use the wireless this week?
See, I'm wired. I can't dance now.
I know, and that's
I'm tethered.
That's hurting the show.
Yeah, that is.
That's hurting the show.
But if you wanted to, you could whip his ass with it. I'm just saying.
Well, this is true. Why don't you introduce yourself? Our guest from McAuliffe Cigars is a bit of a legend in the world of Texas cigar reps.
Wow.
Right?
I'll take that. Hey, that's awesome. This is Brandon Luna. I'm the rep for McAuliffe Cigars here in the Texas area, as well as Oklahoma, Kansas, Nebraska, Missouri, and Louisiana. I've been in the cigar industry about 6 years. Started as a broker originally. How I even got into that was that I was doing a cigar review podcast. I was one of those nerds in his backyard reviewing cigars for a year.
Aren't we nerds?
I think we are.
And then I had a podcast called the Calypso Cigar Review for 4 years. And I was finishing up a podcast one day, and I was bitching about my job. Can we cuss on the show?
Yes.
Okay. Bitching about my job, and I was with Todd Vance, and you guys probably know Todd Vance.
Yes.
Previously with Cornelius and Anthony. He said, dude, I can get you in the cigar industry. You got personality, you got knowledge. Any day you want to get in the industry, let me know. I'm like, all right, well, start looking for me. 2 weeks later, I'm getting phone calls. I'm brokering for a couple of brands. Went to my first IPCPR show as the podcaster that was also working for 2 brands. Had a blast. My favorite show ever, because I got to jerk off a lot and not do a lot of work, but it was a blast.
Awesome.
And then the following year, I'm with PDR Cigars, and then eventually with Nat Sherman, and now I'm with McAuliffe. So,
and McAuliffe, this is new, right?
This is a new brand, new brand, about 3 years old. I'm new with the brand. I've been with the brand for about a month now. I was brought on by Trey Andrews, who's a longtime friend of mine. We've been friends for about 6 years since I started in the cigar industry. We both came in at the same time, and lifelong friendship with this guy. I mean, that's one thing about the cigar industry, and you guys know this. I told my wife this, and it's a true story. I've never worked a job where I felt like I was going to leave that job and have lifelong friends. You do not leave the cigar industry. The cigar industry is in your blood.
Yeah,
you work it for life, and you know people for life. And these are family.
I think that's something. I think it has something to do with the passion that people have for cigars.
Absolutely.
And the type of people that want to be involved in that, and then how those people interact with each other.
I think because cigars, when you're in the cigar culture, they call it the culture instead of the cigar industry. The cigar industry is where you work, but you work in the cigar culture. And it's amazing that, like, when we talk to the different reps, from everyone knows each other, loves to hang out with each other. There's friendly competition.
Except for that Alan Denny guy.
That guy.
Right, that guy's kind of a jago, but we love Alan.
But it's funny because all the reps, like, if you meet one, the next thing you know, he's introducing you to other people. And so we're new to the industry. Just with this show, and we've gotten to meet so many great people, and everybody's oh, and I want you to meet this guy from this guy, and this guy is absolutely fantastic. Family works,
and you guys know this from the standpoint of doing a podcast. If you did a podcast about anything else, say if I did a rock and roll podcast, chances of me talking to Mick Jagger are slim to none, right?
Mm-hmm. Right.
It's just not going to happen unless I'm joking. But you do a cigar review podcast. A year later down the road, you're talking to Jorge Padron. You're talking to guys that are titans in the industry.
Yes,
guys that you would never meet otherwise, talk to, and you have relationships with these guys.
And they are sitting down and enjoying talking to you because they're talking about something
Absolutely
passionate about.
Yeah. And it's all about the culture.
That absolutely is. I remember, I've told this on the show before, when Ian and I met him through my wife for years. And, she's, when we first started going out, she's like, oh, I should introduce you to this person. When she tells me about Ian, she goes, oh, you'll like him. He smokes cigars. I'm like, done. I mean,
that's it. That's all you need.
I knew we would have something to talk about.
Absolutely.
And that's the way it absolutely works. So you walk into McAuliffe. It's a fairly new brand.
Right.
What's it like? Is it kind of overwhelming because now you're learning a whole new line, you're establishing new favorites? What's the process like when you first get started?
So I've always been a brand builder when I started in this industry. I've never had the easy brand, right? I've always had brands that necessarily weren't big in my territory, and I had to build those brands. And I think I've really grown to love that because you establish a lot of relationships with retailers as well as other manufacturers and reps, and that's necessary to grow those brands. You establish relationships with consumers as well. So going from PDR to Nat Sherman, which is a huge brand in the East Coast, but not necessarily the biggest brand in Texas, to having to build that brand and build those relationships and then carry that over to McAuliffe, it really wasn't that hard. The hardest part of the job is learning all the names of the cigars, learning the sizes, and learning the prices.
Right.
That's really the minutia of
product,
it, right?
Yeah.
But the job is still the job. It's just I'm selling a different cigar, and I'm working with a great brand that's a Texas-based brand that's been in the industry for about 3 years and has a crap ton of accolades already.
Right.
So that's an exciting place to be. I'm with a younger brand. I get to build it from the ground up, and I'm super excited about that.
We got here to this event here sponsored by Maduro's Cigar Lounge. And at the beginning of it, we had a swag bag. And one of the first cigar I pulled out and said, I'm going to smoke this, was the Matafina from your company. Tell me about that cigar. Tell me what's going on. It was a great cigar. I enjoyed it. Even in the windy upstairs here, it burned great. The whole, it was a great cigar. Tell me about it. What was that experience?
That's the Grande Bold line. We started with the Legacy line a couple years back, and that's the line that most people know, like the Leyenda, a lot of the premium stuff, right? The Reserva, Privada Reserva, which was rated really highly. But then we started the Grande Bold line as more of an intro line to introduce really strong cigars to our brand. Because Texas, let's be honest, they like strong cigars.
Texas like big cigars.
They love big cigars. They love strong cigars. That's what they love.
And that was a big gauge too. Was that a 55 or 60?
It was a 6x60. Yeah, 6x60.
6x60. There you go.
So we wanted to have something to really kind of capture that market here and build out. Because that market's just not Texas. It's also Oklahoma, Kansas, Nebraska, Missouri. It's an American thing. We love strong cigars. We like big cigars. So that was our attempt to do that. The Matafina is a blend that I think is really tasty. It reminds me a lot of the you can smoke cigars for a long time, so I'm sure you know, like the original CEO Brasilia.
Yeah, yes, the original big Brasilia.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah, it tastes a lot like that to me. So I think the blend's probably pretty similar to that. You get a really nice woodiness from that Matafina. You get some spice. It's delicious. I'd say it's probably medium plus. I wouldn't go that it's but it's one of the ones in our line that's in that medium plus range.
No, to make a cigar in that ring gauge and it still be that powerful is quite an experience too.
Yeah, and you got to add, it's how you lay the leaves, it's how much
Right.
Ligero you put in there. It's a lot of things that come into play on that. So, and that's all taken care of by the Gomez Sanchez family. So,
and it's not necessarily cheap to build a big ring gauge cigar with a lot of Ligero tobacco in it.
right,
either.
right, yeah, exactly, yeah.
So
it's not.
Yeah. When
But-
you're, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. No, go ahead.
I was going to completely different question. So
Go
if you-
for it. Go for it.
I was just going to say, when you're doing what you're coming in, you're with a new company, a company that maybe doesn't have the inroads at retail
Right.
of some of the bigger brands. What is it that you have to do in order to secure some shelf space? Is it relationships? Is it getting the guys at those stores that are making those decisions to actually smoke the cigar and like them? Is it reassuring them what your push is externally so people will know it and have heard of it?
Right.
What are the most important parts of that process?
It's the most important part of that is the relationship. You want to have relationships with the establishment, trying to have them procure the product from you. You have to have that relationship. If you've got that, and I did have that previous with most of these people in the territory, the rest of it's kind of easy. At that point, yes, you have to sit with them, smoke the cigar. A bigger portion of that I think is important that a lot of people don't think about is you really have to smoke with the consumer as well. You have to sit down with them, talk about the brand, let them know that it's real, that there's people actually working it, that this is something that's in Weatherford, Texas.
Right.
And introduce them to the line and really kind of expand that. And as you know, people in the shops, those people are going to support the product because they like you, and that's how it grows organically. And I think that's in this type of brand that's small, new, starting off, it's very important to grow organically. And one thing that's a little unique in the industry, we do the ambassador program. What that is basically is you go online to the McAuliffe site, you say you want to ambassador, you get an actual certificate of authenticity, you get a coin in the mail that has a number, so it's like one of those million coins, and you are part of the McAuliffe Ambassador Program.
That's actually really cool.
At that point, you get access to the Facebook group, so you get exclusive news about McAuliffe and stuff that's going on. You're getting, details about new product that's coming to the shelf that is out there, where the events are, so you can go with other McAuliffe ambassadors and be present. And it's working great because it's driving people to where those events are to support the brand.
So they support the brand,
and they really
where the brand's available,
right,
too.
and they're part of something because I've been to several events already. Guys are comparing coins. Some of the coins are different. They've got different numbers. It's a little bit of a dick measuring contest. Who has the lowest number? That type of thing.
I'm going to give you an idea for free.
Okay. Yeah.
You can use this and just one day send me a cigar as a thank you. For the people who are your ambassadors, secret decoder ring.
Yes.
It'll be huge.
Absolutely.
It'll be huge. I would want to be an ambassador immediately to
Drink
get the secret
more
decoder ring.
Malta. What?
Buy more Malta meal.
It's a really amazing thing to me to see in this era of the cigar business, what's happening right now, where we're seeing kind of like strong and steady growth, not like boom time, but just this very strong and steady growth. But it really feels to me, and maybe I'm wrong about this, but it feels to me like it's being fueled by the smaller companies, by the innovation that's happening in smaller companies. Now, maybe that trickles up, if you will, to the big guys, because the big guys have to go, wow, we got to stay relevant. We got to, look at how the blends have changed at Romeo and Julieta, for example, over the last 2 to 3 years. That's in response to what's happening in the industry.
Exactly.
As people are learning from some of the smaller and more boutique brands, they're like, we can't just do the same thing we're doing. We need to produce cigars that are going to appeal to the people who are loving those things. And it just feels like a very exciting time for the industry as a whole right now because of the innovations that are happening from companies like yours.
Right, yeah.
And I think it's huge and important. Now, obviously, the elephant in the room, we won't go back down the rabbit hole on the regulation and the Nat Sherman thing. But I will say this. The regulation at its core feels like it to harm some of that. Because it's going to be the small, the Nat Shermans of the world will survive. They're part of a much that has fingers in a lot of other pies. But the guys that are doing some of this innovation, I think, are the ones that would be hurt the most. I just to see it happen. Also, excuse me, I hate to see it be harder for companies to put new blends out because of that process becoming much more complicated.
Right, and that's the thing. it's kind of hard to tell right now because we don't really know what's going to happen. We don't know what the end game is going to be.
That's correct.
The script hasn't been written. We don't know if Iron Man's going to snap his fingers and save the day. We have no idea. But I think all of us cohesively doing something to try and affect that change is important. And I'm going to say this as a truth. Back when this whole thing started and they were pushing to sign that thing for the FDA. Remember back way when? This is like, what, 2 years ago?
Yes.
Where they were trying to get people to go sign this document. Oh, you got to sign this document. You get cigars. It was really difficult. Even me going in cigar shops telling guys, you got to sign this. 90% of them had no freaking idea what it was,
right?
What they were supposed to do, and then the other 50% that knew, their idea of it was, well, it's not going to happen anyway. I'm not worried about it. So I think that we're not proactive as a society, as a cigar culture that we need to be. We really need to be a lot more proactive. Read Half Wheel daily. Read Cigar Coop daily. Read those news. For us, because you're not going to see this on CNN, people. It's not going to be important enough.
That's right. And support organizations like Cigar Rights of America. These are doing great work. They're being very educational about it. They're approaching it in the right way. It's a good and very healthy thing. And listen, it's so wonderful to be able to walk into the humidors that we're lucky enough to get to walk into in a city like the one where we live,
the kind
and
of
see
selection.
the diversity and spend. I say this all the time. When I shop for shoes, I'm like, where's the first pair I can feel good about, and I'm out of here. Shop for cigars, it's like, wow,
it's an adult candy store. I mean, really,
yes,
it's like that's really what it is. You want to try everything. Once when I worked in cigar shops, that was always my goal. I'd work for a day and say, I haven't had this, I'm having it. I haven't had this, I'm having it. I haven't had this, I'm having it. And it just helps. And I think that's important for consumers to know that. If you're stuck on one cigar, listen to your tobacconist. Listen to what he says about what you like about that cigar and find something new to try, because there's so much out there that you're missing out on.
Is the Montefina your newest?
It's one of our newest, yeah. Part of that Grande all came out at the same time. The Montefina, the Ligero, the Sumatra, the Maduro, the Nicaraguan all came out at the same time.
And props to Trey for the training. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah, no kidding. Anything else new that you want to talk about or that's coming? I know a lot of times you're not supposed to talk about what's coming at IPCR for another
That's just a month away.
So I'll tell you about our new cigar. It's called the Beep, and it's coming out in several different sizes, including Beep and Beep, and it's going to run for about a cost of Beep. So yeah,
and the flavor profile is going to be
the flavor profile is going to be awesome. It's going to be like God's Beep, and it tastes like angels. It's going to be awesome.
I love it. That's exactly what I'm looking for in a cigar.
There's your inside scoop right there.
Yeah.
The thing is, we told Fred that we would actually blurb everything with and say Maduro instead of beep.
Every third word was supposed to be Maduro's. And Maduro's was talking Maduro's about Maduro.
This event is brought to you by Maduro's Cigar Lounge from, is it?
2800 Marina Bay Drive, League City, Texas.
League City, that's right.
77573.
There you have it.
We're on a boat, mother beep, on a boat.
Now, Alan, I just want to point out, since you were in the last segment and come back, these segments are both going to air on the same show. So this doesn't count as two appearances.
I don't know if you noticed this, Alan, but I got up for a minute, left my bench for a second, and I got Alan Denny'd with my mic again. I got Alan Denny'd.
Oh, wow.
You should have just bought something with a cord, bro.
Yeah. You know what you could do is you could attach a cord to this, even though you don't need one. That way I wouldn't be so jealous and tend to steal it.
Just have it trail to the
fake
floor.
Cord. Right. Just have a fake cord.
I was thinking of something else you could put on it. He'd keep it. He wouldn't touch it then.
Well, guys, thank you so much for spending a few moments with us here. Congratulations on your new assignment. I think you guys are doing great work.
Thank you, sir.
I can't to smoke the Montefina. Mine's still in the bag. So.
I bought a box of the Leandro. Can't wait to try that.
Good.
It's delicious. You're going to love it.
You'll get one.
Some humidor I can
You'll get
sneak
one,
your way to.
Cruz,
to
what did you buy a box of down there?
I haven't gone shopping yet. My shop.
Well, the EP Carrillo table is right downstairs.
I do know where it's located, and you guys had some pretty cool looking bag too.
We've got. So I will say this is really funny for me. Our company has always gone on the brand and never been big on swag, and we've realized that you just can't do that in this industry. Brandon will tell you, you can't be a cigar company and not have swag. Everybody wants a T-shirt, a hat, a lighter, a cutter.
Yeah,
and so our new COO, Salim, who was instrumental in making sure we had some great stuff. This is the first time that I've been at a multi-vendor event, and I've had more swag on the table than Drew Estate or Rocky Patel.
Wow, there you go. Because those guys are the swag kings.
They
know
know
what they're doing.
There are some companies out there, I'm not going to mention names, but they go overboard. Like, you buy one cigar, get 5 free, buy 2, get 10.
Or they have like 3 cigars in their line, but they have 7 different ashtrays.
Right.
Yeah.
Or fidget spinners.
That's another thing.
We never did bring that up.
We haven't talked about it yet.
Is there an
actual
actual? There was a fidget spinner. There was an.
Yeah,
no, that's gotta be wrong.
It's
real.
Let's say it comes from Honduras. He sold his company to Davidoff. Now he has a new company. His brother is doing great in the industry, and their dad's one of the greatest blenders in the world. I'm not going to mention.
Spinner?
I'm not going to mention his name. It's a punch. It's a punch.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Blades.
It is a punch. So that's a whole other show.
That's an episode we'll have to do.
I just remembered, actually, I did buy something downstairs. I think I got a box of Nat Sherman, if I'm not mistaken.
I bet you
I'm going
didn't.
to punch you in the wiener.
Well, we know that isn't true. So, listen, guys, thank you so much. Alan, thanks for inviting us to be a part of this event. This has been a lot of fun. The food was exceptional, by the way.
I can remember way back when my wife invited me on the show. Way back.
Mm-hmm.
Well, actually, no, she invited me like first time we met at Whiskey's
we
of
met
the
at
World.
Whiskey's of the
Whiskey's
World.
of the World.
Yes.
So y'all had me on. I'm still the manager at the shop that I used to work at.
Mm-hmm.
And then y'all have had me on, and y'all become friends. Y'all aren't, it's not like, oh, y'all are some news guy. I show up every night. Y'all become friends. It's nice to be able to hang out with y'all when it's not just the show. So
That's right.
I love here. I love you guys. Even become friends with y'all's wives. So
Yeah.
it's maybe if you got a new son-in-law, that might.
Well, it's hard to get a producer.
I bet Adam works a lot cheaper than others.
So far, I think he works mostly for cigars and whiskey. So,
Wow.
no,
That's a great producer.
yeah, no, he does get his share though. We make sure of that. So, anyway, guys, thank you very much. And thanks again for the invite. And we're always down to help support anything you got going on.
Absolutely.
Seriously, congratulations again, and
Thank you, sir.
welcome on the show. And you guys
and Cruz, I hate you for being wireless right now.
Here, let me just officially. I'm going to hand it back to you.
Did it hurt your feelings?
But-
when I had it the first segment, Cruz had it most
But
of
the
second.
segment's over.
So thanks for watching this segment of Smoking and Toasting. We'll be right back.
Aww.
It's Whiskey and Breakfast Stout when we come back for our final segment. It's Smoking and Toasting, show number 140, and we will be right back. Woohoo.
On the beach in Hawaii.
Welcome back. It's Smoking and Toasting. This is the program that's all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. Show number 120. And we are brought to you by B&B Butchers and Restaurant at 1814 Washington Ave in Houston, and in the shops at Clear Fork in Fort Worth. Also by BB Lemon on Washington Ave, and a brand new location opening soon where Pax Americana used to be in Houston, if you are familiar with that. So yes, bacon. So there is a new bill which has been introduced on the federal level that seeks to raise the nationwide minimum age to purchase tobacco products from 18 to 21 years old. It is a bipartisan bill, and I'm going to tell you right now, I have no problem with it. I have no issue with tobacco, much like alcohol being a 21 and over purchase thing. What I have a problem with is premium cigars being put to the same sort of scrutiny and regulation that cigarettes and e-cigarettes and vapes and stuff are, because premium cigars are not targeted to people under 21 anyway. The people under 21 are not buying premium cigars, which we've established, which research has established, and which anyone with half a brain can figure out. So I really have no problem with this, but it is some important news.
Should we
in
just
the world of regulation?
Should
for
we
tobacco.
just change the age of legal adulthood to 21?
I believe we should,
because
yes.
at
I believe we should.
18 you were allowed to make life choices like I can, let's see, join the military
Right.
and fight. And
I can fight for
put
my country,
life
right.
on the line.
I totally agree. By the way,
You can vote for your country. You can you take part in that whole system. But if
I would feel
if you
differently.
you can't make life choices at 18, like should I smoke cigarettes or should I smoke cigars or should I vape
or should I drink alcohol?
Then why would you be expected to make life choices at 18? Like, oh, should I join the military
And die for my country.
and die for my
potentially.
country if that happens?
I couldn't
And
agree
I'm not.
more.
This is not I'm from a military family. I'm way for the military, but I will say that I think that this whole the whole age thing is a little ridiculous. If they think that raising that is going to solve this problem, it's not.
Well, I agree with you. But
I mean,
at the same
it's
time,
not going to affect me.
It's not going to affect me. I might feel differently about this if I was 19 years old. But I will say to you this: when I was 18 years old, and therefore at that particular time in the state of Texas, legal to drink alcohol and purchase alcohol. It was what it was. After I turned 21, the alcohol age limit changed to 21. So I didn't miss out on being able to do it when I was at 18 and 19. But I remember thinking that had it been that way at the time, that would have been frustrating to me. That said, we do need to be consistent here, which is what you're saying, because all of the people who are proposing this raising of the age limit are saying that it's being done to protect still developing minds and bodies of 18 and 19-year-olds that are not fully adult yet. If we're protecting them from tobacco, I think we might want to protect them from sniper fire in the field of duty as well.
Well, all I'm saying is if you expect someone at the age of 18 to make those life choices, like who's going to lead my country, like who are my local representatives going to be, like what is my next career path or what is my first career path, what am I going to do with this? If you expect people to be able to make those kind of decisions as an adult, but you're not allowed to think about smoking or drinking, I just think there's a silly separation there that, again, I think the government has information that they're using improperly.
By the way, I don't think you should be allowed to get married at that age either.
Yeah, is an 18-year-old...
Because you're making a decision you're not old enough to make.
Well, the question is this: is an 18-year-old a kid? Now I'm in my 40s. An 18-year-old to me is a kid, but I remember when I was 18, I didn't think I was a kid. I felt all grown up.
No,
right?
I get it. But
the question is, do we give that 18-year-old, I don't know, some things that they can do here? Now you can wash dishes and take out the garbage. I don't know. I mean, like, what is the nanny state doing here? And they're saying that the smoking issue is because we don't want minors to smoke. Well, we don't want minors to smoke, so we take the age away from 18-year-olds that are allowed to make all their other life choices besides those two things.
Yeah, I'm with you on this.
Like,
I just think
so
we need
ridiculous.
I just think we need to get consistent on one side or the other. Either it's 21 and nobody can be pulled into military service or get married or do any of the other things that you have to be an adult to do until you're 21. Or it needs to be 18, one way or the other. I mean, it just needs to make sense. The problem is that the people who pass laws in this country, it isn't about what the laws are, how good they are. It's about how they look to their constituents. So it's why there's so many taxes on cigarettes, by the way. I'm not saying cigarettes aren't bad for you, but boy, if you're Congressman Ian Barry, and you pass a bill that raises your constituents' tax that they have to pay on the money that they make at their job, they are going to really be mad at you, and you're probably not going to be reelected.
No, but you can raise it on smokers because
if
no
you
one
raise
cares
it
about
on
them.
smokers, nobody's going to. It's why? I mean, they banned tobacco sales altogether in Beverly Hills, California this week. The only thing exempted are cigar lounges. Thank God for that. But you cannot go into a grocery store or a convenience store and buy a pack of cigarettes. Now, I don't smoke cigarettes, so that doesn't impact me. But really?
Yeah.
If a substance
now,
is legal,
as a full 21-year-old adult, you no longer have that choice.
Guess what? Yeah, that's no longer your choice in the city of Beverly Hills.
Right, because you are not responsible enough to make that choice to buy or not buy that product.
And I think you're going to see this trend continue. and it's going to have bad implications for cigar smokers as well. Plus, hey, if people choose to smoke cigarettes and they're an adult, that's their choice.
Absolutely.
Just because I don't do it doesn't mean that you shouldn't be allowed to do it. If you're a responsible adult making, hey, listen, I eat cheeseburgers. That's probably not good for you either.
Yeah. You know what?
Yeah.
When you're 18 years old, you can get a job on an oil well.
Right.
That's not exactly healthy.
Exactly.
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 And kudos to people who do it. But, I mean, at that point in time, you're making choices. I just don't understand, like, the government, this nanny state idea where the government has to choose for you or says you can choose this, but you can't choose that. I just think, like, what is the government looking for? If you don't want kids to smoke, make it tougher for kids to smoke. Don't change the smoking age for people who can smoke.
Right.
I'm
with you. I mean, I have no problem with the idea of changing it. I just think that we're going to have to be consistent, just like you're saying.
I mean, do they have police out there giving tickets to minors smoking?
Yeah, who knows? That's the thing.
Because they're not going to spend that kind of time and expenditure to have police officers policing kids.
Hey, young man,
to
up
keep them
against
from
the wall.
Smoking, right?
I see
that
you
would
with
be
cigarette.
silly.
I see you with that cigarette up against the wall.
But we can change the law, which, by the way, if someone is 16 years old and smoking something, do you think changing the law to 21 stops that kid from smoking?
Yeah.
Like, how does that even work? That doesn't even make sense.
It doesn't work.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
But you know what? Anytime we get into a discussion like this, I think it is always a bad idea to have that discussion without whiskey. So would you mind doing the honors?
Whiskey.
Whiskey, yes. We have some whiskey. Ian brought this in, and we're both big fans of the beer, so let's see how
So
the
this
whiskey
is Rogue Dead Guy whiskey. And I love... I love their logo, the little dead guy sitting on the
yes, it's a
barrel.
great logo. And this is one of those interesting... this bottle is capped like a bottle of beer.
Yes, it is.
But it comes with a
just like a beer
resealable cap, which is
like
interesting.
on a Grolsch bottle.
Yeah, I like it.
Absolutely
Or a
love that.
bottle of olive oil.
So we're about to pop this open. A couple things about this. It says ocean aged in oak barrels for at least 1 year. Ocean aging.
That means they put it on a boat, right?
Yes, they put it in a barrel and then they put it on a
So
boat.
it's perfect for the theme of the show.
That's right.
Yeah.
And the reason they do that is if you put it on a boat, it gets agitated. Just the motion
Right,
of
the
sea.
rocking of the motion of the sea moves the whiskey around in the barrels in such a way that it impacts the aging and the flavor of the whiskey. So,
Right, so it's kind of a way that you can make your whiskey, and I'm going to use great big air quotes on this. You can age it a little faster. You get a little more flavor for a shorter period of time.
That's a
because
good way to put it, yeah.
Much like spaghetti sauce, you got to mix it. Get those flavors mixed in.
So Rogue Dead Guy Ale, which is delicious, by the way.
Oh, it's absolutely fantastic.
It is one of the stronger ales I can think of. It is a big, full-bodied,
Like flavor-wise,
in-your-face flavor bomb ale. It'll be interesting to see how this stacks up because this is their whiskey. So will it be a big in-your-face flavor bomb? It's not overproofed.
No, it's right at 40%, and it doesn't smell like it. Like right on the nose, it smells nice. It smells pleasant. It smells like tea leaves a little bit.
Yes.
And what else am I getting in there? Like a little cinnamon and a little bit of...
honey?
Yeah, I can go for that. It smells delicate. It smells a lot lighter than what I'm anticipating.
And having taken a taste, I can tell you that will carry on to your thinking about the actual taste of this. I'm going to tell you, I think this is absolutely delicious, but you said a word that describes it perfectly. For a whiskey, it's very delicate.
I agree. If you're going to pair this with a cigar, you need something on the very much lighter side of the cigar. You need
I think about that champagne from Perdomo.
Yeah, the champagne from Perdomo would probably go well with this. The Reserva Real or the Hemingway series.
Or the Connecticut from...
or that Aladino Connecticut,
Aladino, yeah.
This is so delicate, and it has a little apple in it almost.
It really does. And what's interesting, to answer the
malty
question...
kind of yum.
Yes, to answer the question that I posed initially, this is not a big in-your-face whiskey the way that Rogue Dead Guy Ale is a big in-your-face ale. I would think that this would be a whiskey, and I don't know if he's watching the show, maybe he'll pipe in, but I would think this would be a whiskey that the Chris Hart type guys who are really fond of the big overproofed things would not like so much. but I will tell you that it is delicious. It's just, if you're looking for that big whiskey vibe, that big, kind of bold and in your face, that's not what this is. This is much, I keep going back to your word, Ian, delicate. It's much more delicate.
2-row, Mayer Munich, C15, and Rogue Farms Dare and Risk malts, distiller's yeast, and free-range coastal water. It just says 7 ingredients. That's what it says right there. And one of those ingredients, oddly enough, is yeast.
Yeast, always important.
Pretty amazing, huh?
Yeah, always important.
Dead Guy Whiskey is distilled from the sweet wort of Rogue's award-winning Dead Guy Ale. Now, wort, W-O-R-T, is the product you have after you've heated up your malt and extracted all the sugars, and then you sparge that malt, and you have this wort left, which is pre-beer, basically. It's beer before you've tossed in the yeast to ferment it. So it's very sweet because it has all those sugars in there that the yeast will then turn into alcohol. So this is before you've done that process. That's what wort is. Distiller's yeast is added, and the sweet wort is fermented for 7 days, then double distilled in a 500-gallon copper whiskey still and ocean-aged in oak barrels. So I got to tell you, I like the aftertaste on this a lot. The oak aftertaste on this is quite delicious. It has a younger oak aftertaste to it.
Let's put that bottle back on Mr. Whirligig. I don't know if we got a good shot of it from. See, and I don't know if Mr. Whirligig being further over like that works, because then you have to
We'll
scoot.
see. It looks good over there, though.
It does look good, yes.
We may have to play with that a little bit.
I really like it.
It needs a disco ball more than it needs anything else.
I dig this, Ian. I think this is quite good, but it's just completely different from some of the great. I mean, we've had some great whiskeys on the show of late, and they've all been bigger and bolder than what this is. This is, I don't know, it's just a little lighter, but it's delicious.
While I tend to like great big bold whiskeys in general, I don't have a problem appreciating something a little more delicate and a little nice.
I will say, by the way, a lot of the single malts are more delicate.
Yeah, so this would be more along like the Glenmorangie 10-year-old.
Right.
This is more along that line of it's delicate, it's light, it's refreshing. This has such a nice little sweet malt right up front, and then some fruitiness, and then that, like, and by fruity, it's like I get apple out of this.
It's definitely,
really does.
And it's definitely not tonight's the night you fight your dad type stuff.
No, this is sit down and really. There's a little banana in there too. This is sit down and really enjoy the flavors going on here. This is something you share with maybe even a cube of ice or a splash of water to open it up.
Agreed.
Because I'm willing to bet that you'll get even more interesting flavors doing that. This is a $45 bottle.
I think worth it.
I think it's on par. I think they're putting out a good product. I think the packaging is cool. I love their logo anyway. I love their beer.
Love it.
I went to the beer section to see if they had any of the Rogue Guy Dead Guy Ale, and they didn't have it. They had all the other Rogue flavors, and they didn't have the Dead Guy Ale because I kind of wanted to see how it pairs. That'll be a
you can get
story.
Dead Guy in bombers as well.
Yes,
as well as the six packs, and that's just.
And you used to. I haven't
beer.
seen it in a few years, but you used to be able to buy a half gallon of it in a jug.
Oh yes, I know what you're talking about.
I love that because I'm like, I'm just having one beer tonight, honey.
That's totally worth it. It's totally worth it.
And there you have it.
Wow, and that was made without any use of synthesizers, just like the old Queen albums. Remember that?
That's
no
right.
synthesizers were used in the making of this album. I just opened a can of what I'm very, very curious about. It's labeled Dark Ale on one side of the can. On the other side of the can, it calls itself a Breakfast Stout. It is from Bale Brewing Company. It is a breakfast stout with coffee, and it is 6.8, if I'm reading this correctly, Ian. 6.8% alcohol by volume, so this should be interesting. Usually on the show, we kind of start with the smallest beer, then maybe go to something that's medium-sized on the middle beer, and then the last beer will be, maybe from a bomber or something. This time we went the opposite direction.
That's right.
The Saison was in a big bomber, then we had a tall can in the middle, and now this is just in a regular 12-ounce can. But the Dormancy, it says conditioned on locally roasted coffee beans. This rich
you
dark
can smell
brew
that.
reminds us that good things still happen while hop fields lay dormant in the off-season. Very interesting. So I'll pass one of these over to Adam as well, and we'll do a little tasting. I see you're repositioning some cameras there, Ian.
I'm playing around a little bit. I'm gonna get this Mr. Twirly gig. I'm gonna get him in the right spot.
All right.
I'm gonna find a spot that really works.
While you do that, I'm going to see what this this Dormancy gives me on the nose. Well, on the nose, it gives coffee. That much I can tell you.
Yeah, it's very, very coffee.
In fact, and I've gone ahead and taken a sip. I don't think you've done your research on this yet, Ian, but
Not yet.
this is of any of the coffee stouts or porters that I've had, this is the one that actually tastes the most like a cup of coffee.
Just the smell is so coffee.
It is almost like having a cup of coffee, not like a beer that's coffee flavored. This is like having a cup of coffee.
When I drink coffee, I drink it just plain black, like my heart. I mean, I don't put any.
I like.
I don't put any.
This is almost like espresso, though. It's
Yeah,
got that
this has
much
that-
darker roast flavor to it.
It has that coffee bitter that's really nice. Now this would be something to have with a cigar.
With a big full cigar.
Yeah,
even.
nice
you
big
could
full
even-
cigar. I don't know
Yep.
if you guys out there don't know that coffee and cigars go so well together, and of course that would stand to reason that coffee and coffee, beer, and cigars would also go very well together.
All right, so I just went from the Bale Breaker Dormancy Breakfast Stout. I just went from that back to the Rogue Dead Guy whiskey, and it makes the whiskey fuller in
Interesting.
my mind.
I expected it to actually bury the whiskey.
Instead, it makes the whiskey almost
The malty flavors and the sweetness
brings
comes
the malt
really
out.
out.
Yes, and it also the whiskey almost becomes bigger.
Yeah.
I think in flavor and bigger in
Interesting to see what
texture.
happens when you go back the other direction. Mm-hmm. What is going on there?
I got to tell you, it almost dilutes the coffee a little bit. I don't pull as much of the bitter out, the sort of coffee bitter, the espresso.
You know what?
coffee bitter.
I think we may have just found one of those like combinations that is just magical.
kind of freakishly magical. Yeah, I agree. These two are very good. And now think about lighting up a medium to full-bodied cigar and enjoying it with both of these beverages.
And Gio posts up, coffee and cigars go great together like peanut butter and women.
Thank you, Gio. That's perfect.
My friend Gio, he doesn't really actually have opinions.
Yeah, well, that's good. That's good to know. Well, it's just kind of like Wiki Brian. Thank God he doesn't have a frame of mind,
Right.
or whatever. Ian, I like this Dormancy ale, this Dormancy breakfast stout very much.
I like it too. I think that this pairing is so interesting. Mm-hmm. I like that's a blast. Mm-hmm. We're gonna have to continue exploring this as the show goes on.
Well, I think we will do that. We want to thank our guests on the show, Brandon Luna with McAuliffe Cigars. Told you that was such an interesting exchange with him, talking about being with Nat Sherman when all that regulation stuff went down, when the letter came down. And then we want to thank Jenny Lynn Hunter, who is welcome to come on this show and drop F-bombs anytime she wants to. We like her. We like her very much. And Alan Denny, who nobody cares about, but who is our dear friend. Nobody besides us, I guess, cares about him. So that's the way it is.
Just a quick thing Gio also posted up. Speaking of whiskey, I'm sitting here in a bar in Puerto Rico, and a guy just poured Dewar's White Label with coconut water.
Interesting.
How about that?
That doesn't necessarily seem to me like I would like it, but maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah, well, you never know.
Maybe. So I just wanted to mention, by the way, that with his appearance on the show this week, and I know it makes certain reviewers crazy when we mention this, but apparently now Alan Denny has passed Christopher Hart in terms of his appearances on the program.
Now, we did explain to Alan that being on the same show twice didn't count as two extra
Right. That was only
but
one.
he's at least one up.
Yeah, but he's at least one up. So I don't know what that means. I actually haven't heard from Chris Hart in a while, so I don't know if he's been Maybe he's been busy, and
I fully expect him to pod crash at some point.
I think
he's out of town right now.
I would actually look forward to him pod crashing because A, it's just fun, and B, he always arrives with great stuff.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Always arrives with great.
Yeah,
stuff.
I think he's out of town doing not only his podcast but probably some tastings and whatnot.
Well, we are excited about next week's show. Next week for show number 141. 1 week from today, Dave Mitten from Corby Brands will join us. I understand that Dave is something of a Canadian whiskey ambassador, an ambassador of Canadian whiskeys.
Canadian whiskeys, eh?
Now, I can enjoy a good Canadian whiskey. I don't like all Canadian whiskeys, but I've had some that have been fantastic.
I've had some that are pretty good, eh?
And we haven't. Yeah, thank you. You look perfect saying that wearing a toque, by the way.
You know, the trick to saying "a" at the end of everything is don't say it like a question.
Right.
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 It's literally the punctuation.
It's not a question. It's just a.
Yeah.
So we'll see if Dave is prone to that sort of speech pattern. I haven't met Dave, so I'm looking forward to having him on the show. And talking Canadian whiskey, and I think talking probably some of the other things that Corby Brands has going on as well. So
that's going to be a lot of fun.
It should be a lot of fun. So I will be honest with you, I don't know a hell of a lot about Canadian whiskey, so I'm interested in learning some. I do know a bit about this Rogue Dead Guy whiskey, and I like it. I'm going to come back around for more of this as we get ready, Ian, to put a little more of that in the cup. Oh, you're a good man. Have a great week. Have a great week, everybody. We appreciate you checking us out here at Smoking and Toasting. Thanks very much, by the way, to Maduro's Cigar Lounge in League City, Texas, for the little boat that couldn't. And have a wonderful week, my friends. Trust no one, and cheers.